Hello, so today our topic is fractions greater than 1 in mixed numbers. Our essential question is how do I convert between fractions greater than 1 and mixed numbers? So first we need to define what's a fraction greater than 1 and what is a mixed number. So fractions greater than 1 is they also have another term which is called improper fractions. So you'll probably hear either term, either fractions greater than 1, that's how you would hear it in CPM, the curriculum. And the improper fractions is typically how you will hear from people. You may see it on the map test, but either way, it's the same thing. So the definition of a fraction greater than 1 is basically a fraction where the numerator is greater than the denominator. So typically you will see this as some examples of this is like 3/2, 5/3, 7/4. These are all improper fractions or fractions greater than 1. Next, we're going to talk about mixed numbers. Which is the proper way to write improper fractions. So a mixed number is a number that consists of a whole number and a proper fraction. So when you have a mixed number, that means you have a whole number in front and then a proper fraction that follows. So an example would be 1/2 or 3 3/4. 2 6/7. These are all mixed numbers. It has a whole number and a proper fraction, which a proper fraction is the opposite of an improper fraction, where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So taking our definitions of both fractions greater than 1 and mixed numbers, we're gonna talk about how do we convert between the two. So we're gonna go over some conversions. And the first conversion is from a number fractions greater than 1 to improper, to a mixed number. So we are gonna go have fractions greater than 1 to mixed numbers. Which, remember, this is not a hashtag. This is also a symbol that represents numbers. So this is our first conversion we're gonna go over. And I'm gonna break it down for you in 3 steps. So step 1 would be to divide the numerator by the denominator. So you are taking the numerator and you're dividing it by the denominator. That is the very first step. So that's step 1. Step 2 tells us to write down the whole number answer. Write down the whole number answer. So that's going to be our, whatever the whole number is, that's going to be our whole number in our mixed number. And then our final step here, step 3, is going to be to write any remainder above the same denominator. So for both of these conversions, your denominator should never change. That is the rule of thumb, never change your denominator. It'll always be the same. So let's try an example. So we're gonna go back to our example that I gave, which was 3/2. Actually, let's try 5/3. So we're gonna take our 5/3 and we're gonna go through the 3 steps. So we're gonna take 5/3 and go through the 3 steps. So first you need to divide by the numerator and then write down the whole number. So we need to do 5 divided by 3. Well, I know that 3 goes into 5 one whole time. So I'm going to write down 1 as my whole number. And then I need to figure out what is the remainder. So I know 1 times 3 is 3. So then I need to figure out what's left over. So then I would do 5 minus 3, which equals 2. So our 2 is our remainder. So then I know that my remainder goes above the same denominator. So my remainder was 2, and then the denominator never changes, so 2/3. So then I know my mixed number is now 1 2/3. So now I want to go over one more example. So like say for instance, we have 12/5. And in this problem, so we have 12/5, and we need to first do step 1, which is divide. So then I know that there's 2 5s in 12 evenly, so I know there's 2 5s. So I know there's 2 is my whole number. And then I know 2 times 5 is 10. So I got to 10. Now I need to see what's my remainder, so then 12 minus 10 is equal to 2. So then I know my remainder is 2. And then my denominator never changes the same. So 2/5. 2 2/5. So now we're gonna try the process except in reverse. So instead, we are now gonna go, so the next conversion, so we're still in conversions. So we're still continuing our conversions. Except now we are going to go from mixed numbers. So mixed numbers to fractions greater than 1. So now we're going backwards. So for this, we also have 3 steps. So step 1, multiply the whole number. So first we're gonna multiply the denominator by the whole number. So we're going to first multiply the denominator by the whole number. And then step 2 requires us to add that number, to the numerator. So you're adding on the numerator. Then the very last step is to write that result on top of the same denominator. On top of the same, remember, everything's the same denominator. So this process is actually called something special in the CP&M curriculum, which you probably learned last year. It's called the C effect. So the reason why it's called the C effect, because it's actually going to make a backward C, and we're going to see that in just a moment. So our example that we are going to use is the example that we used from before, which is 3 3/4. So we have whole number 3 3/4. So this is our mixed number. So then when I say the backwards, the C effect, we're gonna take a line and curve it around to kind of make a backwards looking C. And so what this is telling you is to multiply the denominator by the whole number. So you're gonna multiply 4 times 3 and then add the numerator. So then you're adding the numerator. And then, so then 4 times 3 is 12 plus 3 is equal to 15. So then 15 is our new numerator. And then the denominator, write down the result, and write it over the denominator. So our denominator never changed, so it should still be 4. If we took our 2 6/7, we would do the same thing, working backwards. So then multiply the denominator by the whole number, add the numerator. So 7 times 2 equals 14. 14 plus 6 equals 20. So then 20 will be in our numerator, and our denominator never changes. It always stays the same. So then over 7. So this is how you convert between both mixed numbers and fractions greater than 1. I want you to practice this on your own, but before you do so, I would like you to come up with a summary to describe how do you convert between a fraction greater than 1 and a mixed number.